Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. How are
Good
you?
morning, ma.
Yeah.
Fine, ma.
So, let's start today's class. I guess others will join us later. But before we start, I have a lay down in this class, I think, which you all know about. You must put on your video because you can't see me. I also like to see my students when I tutor them. So your video has to be on in my class. So kindly do that in the next few minutes so that we can start. Please on your video so that we can start the class. All right, so please, thank God, you should keep yourself muted. If you are not talking in this class, please, your mic should be muted so as not to distract the class. You can put on your video, but always stay muted, except I ask you to contribute to the class. Please mute your microphone. So let us start. I want to know, can you see the screen I'm sharing?
Yes, ma.
All right, so the reason why I'm sharing this screen is so that it can make our discussion easy. Then with the notes I'm sharing, you'll be able to form your own note as well. Then it will be easier for you to understand what I'm teaching or what I'm explaining. So that's the reason why I'm sharing this with you. So I think, do I still need to introduce myself? I met everyone last week except anybody that didn't attend my class last week. And like I said in the last class, attendance is very, very important because attendance in my class makes up 10 marks of your grade. So you cannot afford not to attend my class. So if you don't attend my class, that means you are losing 10 marks. So it's very, very important to attend my class. So for today's class, we'll be discussing about body structures. That's what we'll be talking about today, like I told you last class, so that you can prepare for that. So we are discussing about body structures today. And the outline for this chapter, we are going to learn about level of organization, cells, cell membrane and cytoplasm, nucleus, tissue, organs, system, organisms. We are also going to learn about anatomical positions, the planes of the body cavities, abdominal pelvic divisions, both the quadrant and region. We are going to talk about spine, directional terms. We are also going to learn about medical word elements. We are going to learn about combining forms. We've already discussed combining forms in our last class. We are also going to expatiate more on combining forms in this class. We are also going to learn about cellular structures, position and direction, region of the body, orders. We are still also going to talk about surfaces and prefixes. We discussed about that in our last class as well. Then we are going to talk about pathology, though we are not going to go extensively into pathology because pathology is a course on its own. But we are just going to talk about terms that you need to know in pathology, disease diagnostics, symptomatics, then also related terms. We are going to talk about how to diagnose diseases, how to treat them, that's the diagnostic and therapeutic procedures. Then you need to learn certain abbreviations because as a medical personnel, you must learn all these abbreviations because there are certain things that you don't have to write out in the full, that you just have to abbreviate. So for you to understand, not that you will write an abbreviation, you as a medical personnel we'll now start asking, what does this abbreviation mean? So that's the reason why we are going to talk about abbreviation. At the end of this chapter, even though we are not going to finish this this outline today, we are going to take this outline this week and next week. At the end of this outline, you'll be given an assignment. So you'll be getting an assignment next week based on our class today. So please take note of that. So let us dive deep into the objective of us learning about body structures, because at the end of this chapter, you must be able to understand, identify level of organization and anatomical planes. You must be able to identify the cavities, quadrants, and regions of the body. You must also be able to understand the term related to direction, position, and planes of the body. Then you must be able to recognize, pronounce, spell, and build words related to body structure, and also identify common abbreviations. Then you must also be able to describe diagnostic and therapeutic procedures and other terms that are associated with them, with the body structure. Then you must be able to demonstrate your knowledge. That's what I said, that you'll be getting an assignment next class. So everything we learn in this class, you must be able to, so the assignments that I'll be giving you will be based on what we discussed this week and next week. So that's the reason why I'm sharing this outline with you, so that you'll be able to form your notes based on that. So you have to pay attention in my class. I would explain as much as possible in a term that you will understand, but as a medical practitioner or a personnel, there are certain terms that you just have to know them. There's no two-way to them. You just have to know how to pronounce them. You have to know how to pronounce them. They cannot be saying therapeutic and you'll be pronouncing it in a wrong way. So you have to know all this. So that's what we are going to learn in this chapter. So let's get right to this class. So now we are going to learn key terms. There are some key terms that we need to learn, and the key terms, one of them is cytoplasm. When we hear the word cytoplasm, another thing I need you to take note of is all these phonetic terms. It will give you an easy understanding of how to pronounce these words. Like now, this is cytoplasm. When you hear the word cyto, I mentioned in my lights class, cyto means cell, while plasm means growth or formation. So when you form those words, that means this growth or formation of cells, cytoplasm, growth or formation of cell. But if you are to define it, cytoplasm is a gel-like substance that surrounds the nucleus of the cell that is contained within the cell membrane. As a science student, you know what a cell is, and you've done biology, you should be able to understand what a cell is. So a cytoplasm is a cell gel-like substance that surrounds the nucleus of the cell. And the cytoplasm contains structures called the organelles that carry out essential functions of the cell. Now, another term that we need to know is the deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA, that is common everywhere. Go and do DNA to know whether to determine the paternity of the child and all that. So DNA means deoxyribonucleic acid. Can you see that? I need to know you're following my class, please. Somebody should read.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So deoxyribonucleic acid means the molecule that holds genetic information and makes an exact copy of its cells whenever the cell divides. That is that's why when a child is born and the paternity of a child is in confusion, they will say, go and do the DNA to know whether you are the father of the child. And that is because once we share genetic information with our parents we share genetic information with our parents. So in order to be able to know, determine, oh, this child is from Mr. A, that's why DNA is carried out to know, because the cell, the genetic information from our father is transferred down to us. So that is the meaning of DNA and what DNA is all about. As you can see, we have the combining forms of words here, just as we learned in the last class. So please take note of the combining forms of words here. Now, let us move to the next term, which is diagnosis. When you hear diagnosis, that means knowing. Dia means true, while gnosis means knowing. And this means the identification of a disease or condition, either by scientific evaluation, physical examinations, symptoms, history, lab or clinical tests, or radiographic procedure. That is why when we fall sick, when we go to the hospital, they take either our blood sample. The reason why a blood sample is taken, so that to determine, okay, what disease is affecting this patient. Not only blood sample is taken, we take urine samples, they take physics samples, they take mucus samples as well. Even skin, they can swab your skin to identify. Like for women, you can do vaginal swab to identify what is going down in the reproductive system of a woman, and these are done to determine for illnesses such as ovarian cancer, to determine for other diseases that affect the female reproductive system. So diagnosis generally means when you evaluate, okay, what is the evaluation of a condition? And there are different ways to examine a disease condition. You can take tests, you can do physical examination, just like I said. You can even take X-ray, like a radiographic procedure, taking of X-ray. You do chest X-ray, X-ray of the leg. You can do X-ray for any part of the body to know exactly what is going on before you can now reach a conclusion on a particular disease. So as a medical practitioner, you don't just look at the patient and say, you are pregnant. No, you have to take certain procedures, take tests, do evaluations before you can now reach a conclusion with regards to the disease that is affecting such patients. So so the term of doing this is called diagnosis. While endoscope is an instrument consisting of a rigid or flexible fiber optic tube, an optical system for observing the inside of a hollow organ or cavity. So an endoscope can be, it has a light and a camera. So when a patient, in order for the medical practitioner to examine, they can run a camera and a light down, maybe from your mouth. They do that from the mouth or from the nose. They also do that from the rectum as well. So the light and camera will be able to see. You can also use that to inside a female reproductive system as well, a organ as well, so as to be able to see what exactly is going on there. Because there are certain diseases that you might not be that scan. Maybe ultrasound might not be able to see, or X-rays might not be able to see. So in such a situation, you have to carry out endoscopy, whereby a camera and a light is inserted into the body to be able to examine, to see physically what exactly is going on there. So the most endoscope consists of a probe fitted, elongated probe fitted with a light and a camera. Now, the next term we want to talk about here is etiology. Etiology is the study of the cause of the disease. Now, the next term is fluoroscope. A fluoroscope is an instrument consisting of an X-ray machine or a fluorescent screen that is used to examine an organ. I mentioned the X-ray earlier. When we get to the radiographic aspect, we are going to dive deep more into the X-ray machine. So fluoro means luminous, fluorescent, while scope is the instrument that is used in examining. So as stated here, the patient stands between the X-ray machine and the fluorescent screen. I want to ask first, are there anybody here that has taken an X-ray before? Is there any one of you that has taken an X-ray before?
Yes.
Yes. So you should be able to understand what this fluoroscope means. So when you go to do an X-ray, you are told to stand in front of the machine and there's a light that passes through. So as the light passes through, it takes an image of the organ. So and also if you can remember, when you go for X-ray machine, there are certain for X-ray, there are certain instruments or gadgets like your phone. They will ask you not to bring in your phone or bring in anything magnetic. And the reason is because there is high level of radiation around where X-rays are taken. So that is why even at times, if you go for maybe like a high definition X-ray, at times they ask you to take certain things to repair, because these X-rays, when you get exposed to them over time, they tend to damage certain organs in our body as well. So it's not something that you have to be exposed to all the time. So that is fluoroscope. This is an instrument consisting of an X-ray or a fluorescent screen used in viewing the internal organs of the body. The patient stands between the X-ray machine and the fluorescent screen, and the radiation passes through the body. It produces an image. Although the regular X-ray film shows more details, fluoroscopy is preferable when live images and movement of internal organs are required. So that is for fluoroscope. We are moving on to the next key term, and this is idiopathic. Idio means unknown, something you do not know. Pathic means disease, while the E is pertaining to. So just as we learned in our combining forms of word, this is a combined form of word. This idio is the prefix, while ik is the suffix. The idio comes first, while the ik is the suffix. That is the end, in order to give a word a meaning. And idiopathic is pertaining to the conditions without clear pathogenesis. That is, diseases that they do not have a recognizable cause. That is, the origin of such disease is just spontaneous. So when a disease does not have a clear pathogenesis, that is, the cause of that disease condition is unknown. That is when it is referred to as idiopathic. Now, metabolism. This is the chemical changes that takes place in a cell. We are still going to talk extensively on cells in this chapter. We are still going to talk about cells, organisms, tissues. We are still going to dive deep into that. But metabolism is the chemical change that takes place in a cell or an organism and produce energy and basic material needed for a life process. I would give you a simple term to understand what metabolism means. Now, when you take rice, you eat rice. The end product that rice gives you is to give you energy. So the form of converting rice to the end product of energy is called metabolism. So when a chemical change occurs maybe in a food or a drug that we take to give the desired effect in order to sustain life, is called metabolism. Now, the next term we want to talk about is prognosis. Prognosis. That is the prediction of the cause and end of a disease and the estimated chance of discovery. So pro means before or in front of, while gnosis means knowing. So when you want to diagnose a disease, or when you diagnose a disease and you know what is going to happen during the process of that disease and what the end result will be, that is what is referred to as a prognosis. So it's predicting. Let me give you an easy example of prognosis. Now, a patient comes to you with very high fever. The patient has loss of appetite, very high fever, loss of appetite. You checked the temperature was very high, and even the patient is vomiting. The prognosis you come to with such illness is that, okay, this person has a malaria. So, and you know that if a patient has a malaria, you have to give an anti-malaria drug or an anti-malaria course of treatment. So you already know what the end result of that disease will be. But in some cases, it might change due to certain things. But in a situation of a patient that comes with high fever, vomiting, and loss of appetite, definitely, especially in our climate here in Nigeria, you know that the first course of treatment might be to treat malaria. So that is a prognosis. So knowing what to treat your patients even before going into the entire diagnostic procedure. So knowing this is a prognosis, just having a prediction of what the course of treatment should be and what you tend to achieve in such a patient. Now, sign, this is the evidence, manifestation of illness or disorder function in the body. So when a patient comes in, or the patient comes and say, I have an headache, or my leg is paining, or my leg aches, or a patient that has arthritis cannot walk, that is a sign. So these are things you look out for: evidence, manifestation of an illness or disorder in the function of the body. While symptoms is any change in the body or its function as perceived by a patient. So if a patient comes to you and say, doctor, my stomach ache, that is a symptom, because it is the patient that is telling you that my stomach aches. It is when you, as a practitioner, now go through the whole diagnostic procedure that you can now determine, okay, this is the reason why this patient's stomach aches. So, but when the patient tells you, this is how I feel, that is referred to as a symptom. So now we are going into, we've been able to learn of some keywords. So if, as a medical practitioner, if you come across any of this word, I don't think it should be strange to you. We are still going to learn more words and abbreviations as we go on in our study of this course. But we want to now move to talking about the cells, the body structure. In this chapter, we are going to understand the body system and the basic structural and functional organization of the body from the cellular level to the organism level. Also, we are going to learn about the planes of the body cavity, the divisions of the spinal column, quadrants, regions of the abdominal cavity. And also, we are going to learn essential terms in medical terminology and that are relevant to all the body systems. You know, when I gave you my course outline last week, I said we are going to talk about the endocrine system, the reproductive system, the digestive system. We are still going to talk about all these medical terms in relation to all these aspects of the body system. Also, we are going to learn about pathology, terms in pathology. We are not going to deep dive into the pathology itself because pathology is a course on its own, but we are only going to talk about the terms that are associated with disease diagnosis, and also we are going to learn terms associated with diagnostic and therapeutic procedures. Now, we are going to learn about the level of body organization. That is the next topic we are moving to. And we know our body is composed of different structures and functions. And each of these levels incorporates and contributes to the structure and function of the entire body organisms. So the level of organization from the simplest to the most complex is we have the cell, we have the tissue, we have the organ, we have the system, and we have the organism. The cell is the simplest, while the organism is the most complex of the organization. So let's take them one after the other. We are going to start from cell. Now, can someone tell me what the study of cell means? What is the term used to define the study of cell? Anyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Emanuela.
Emmanuel Adasa.
Okay, so please tell us what the study of cells means. What is it called?
Cytology.
Cytology, thank you. So cytology, this is the study of the body of the cellular level. And the cell, we know that the cell is the structural and functional unit of life. I think we all learned that in our basic biology. The cell is a study of the structure, the cell is the study of the structural and functional unit of life. So the study of cells is called cytology. And we know that our body cells perform all activities that are associated with life itself, from obtaining nutrients, to eliminating waste, to reproduction. All our organs consist of cell. If your liver consists of cell, your kidney consists of cell, your skin consists of cell, your stomach consists of cell. So the cell is involved in all round activities that the human body takes part in. And the cells are composed of, we have the cell membrane, we have the cytoplasm, and we have the nucleus. Now, let us now go deep into the components of the cell. We have the cell membrane and the cytoplasm. The cell membrane acts as a barrier that encloses the entire cell. So the cell membrane is the outer part of the cell. This regulates the transport of multitude of substance to and from the cell. And within the cell membrane, there's a gelatinous matrix that contains protein, it contains salt, it contains water, and it contains gases and nutrients. And this matrix is referred to as the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm, embedded in the cytoplasm are various structures that we refer to as the organelles that provide specialized function of the cell. So we know the function of the cell membrane. The cell membrane is the outer covering, while the cytoplasm, this is the cell membrane that contains all the nutrients that a cell needs in order to function properly. Now we are going to the nucleus, and the nucleus is responsible for metabolism, growth, and reproduction. The nucleus also carries the genetic blueprint of the organism, of the organism, the DNA that we talked about earlier, this is contained a nucleus. The nucleus, the DNA is contained within the nucleus. This is the blueprint in a complex molecule, and this is called the deoxyribonucleic acid that is organized into chromatids. So when the cell is ready to divide, the chromatin form chromosomes upon which approximately 31,000 genes are located, and each gene determines a unique human character. Now, the gene, except if Emanuela and Jason are siblings, that is when they have the same nucleus because they are from the same parents. But if the DNA I carry will definitely be different from that of Sarima because we are not from the same parent. So the characteristics of each gene is unique to each human. I hope you get that. So, and the gene transmits biological information from one generation to the next. So the gene in my body, which I got, the gene I got from my father, that he got from his father, so it goes like that in each generation to the next. And this includes diverse traits such as hair color, body structure, metabolic activities. Now, in all humans, all cells except the sperm cell and the egg cell contain 23 pairs of 46 chromosomes. So before we proceed, does anyone have any question at this point before we proceed to tissues? Do you have any questions, like things that you want to, that you don't understand in what we've taken so far? Is there any?
No.
All right, so that means we should proceed.
Yes.
Okay. Now we are going to tissues, and who can tell me what the study of each tissue is called? What do you call the study of tissue? Sarima, I'm going to start calling. Sarima, what is the study of tissue called?
Good afternoon, ma. Good morning, ma. Sorry, the study of tissue is called histology.
The study of tissue is called histology.
Tissue is called histology.
Histology, yeah, thank you, I got that. Thank you, Sarima. So the study of tissue is called histology. And these are a group of cells that perform a specialized activity. Tissue are a group of cells that perform specialized activities. So in our body, we have more than 200 cells, more than 200 cells in our body. And these cells are divided into 4 major tissues of the body. The first one, we have the epithelial tissue. The epithelial tissue covers the surface of the organ, lining the lines cavity and canals, form tubes, ducts, secreting portions of gland, and makes up the epidermis of the skin. So the outer covering of our skin is covered with an epithelial tissue, and it's composed of cells arranged in a continuous sheet consisting of one or several layers. The next type of tissue that we have the connective tissue. This one supports and connects other tissue and organs, and it's made up of diverse cell types from fibroblasts to fat cells and even our blood as well too. The next one is the muscle tissue. This one provides the contractile tissue of the body, which is responsible to movement. When you hear the word contractile, what comes to your mind? Contractile, what comes to your mind when you hear that word, contractile? Anybody? Anyone? Christabel. Christabel. that word contractile, can you please explain what, just contractile, what comes to your mind when you hear that word contractile? Christabel.
Good day, Mama.
Yeah. So the word contractile
refers to
sorry?
contractions.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
Contractions.
I'm sorry, can you repeat yourself? I didn't get what you said.
To contract or to shorten something.
To contract. That when you say something is contractile, that means it is elastic. It can release, contract, move. I hope you can see a muscle that can move. So this is assuming our muscles are rigid or still. Will it be possible for us to move easily? No, it will not. But because the muscles of our body are flexible, they are contractile, they aid movements. So that is what the muscle tissue provides. So while the nervous tissue transmits electrical impulses, our nervous tissue is majorly found in our brain and also in our spinal region. That's where you found the nervous tissue. That's where it's majorly found. Now we are moving to organs. That's another part of the body structure. The organs are body structure that compose of at least 2 or more tissue types that perform specialized function. We have the example of the stomach here that is composed of the muscle tissue. The stomach has the muscle tissue, the epithelial tissue, and also the nervous tissue as well. While the muscle and connective tissue forms the wall of the stomach, epithelial and connective tissue covers the internal and external surface of the stomach. So now, the stomach alone has how many tissues now? It has the epithelial tissue, it has the muscle tissue, it has the nervous tissue. Well, and each of these tissues has different places where they are functioning. The muscle and connective tissue are within the wall of the stomach, while the epithelial tissue covers the internal and external surface of the stomach. The nervous tissue penetrates both the muscular wall and its epithelial lining to provide stimulation for the release of digestive juices and contraction of muscles in the stomach wall for digestion. So now let's go to the other system, which is the body system. And this comprises of varying numbers of organ and accessory structures that have similar or interrelated function. An example of this is the organ of the gastrointestinal system. The organ of the gastrointestinal system. And the gastrointestinal system consists of the esophagus, the stomach, and the small intestine. Now, where does digestion start from? You're a medical student, you should know, where does digestion start from? Cynthia, can you please tell us where digestion starts from?
From the mouth, ma.
All right, good. The digestion starts from the mouth. So once we take in our food, the digestion starts with the use of our teeth, swallowing, going to the esophagus, then to the stomach, then to the small intestine and large intestine, and it comes out. So some of these accessory structure include the liver, gallbladder, and the pancreas. And the purpose of this system, the aim is to digest food in order to extract nutrients and to eliminate waste. In our gastrointestinal tract, the gastrointestinal system, which organ is responsible for the absorption of nutrients? Which organ is responsible for the absorption of nutrient. Chikenum, which organ is responsible for the absorption of nutrients? Where is nutrient? When we eat our food, where is nutrients absorbed?
In the small nutrients, ma.
Sorry?
Small intestine.
In the small intestine. Good. So that is where nutrient is absorbed. Can someone tell me the function of the large intestine? We know the small intestine absorbs nutrients. What does the large intestine do? Emanuela.
It stores water.
Sorry?
It stores water.
It stores water. That's really not the major function of the large intestine. Who else is going to try? Okay.
It absorbs and produces vitamins.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
It absorbs and produces vitamins.
Exactly. It absorbs any other nutrients that the small intestine is unable to absorb. The large intestine is going to finish the work. That's the layman way I can explain it for you to understand. So the largest, if there's any maybe water or fluid that the small intestine is unable to absorb, the large intestine will finish the work and pass the rest to the as waste that is excreted out of the body. So the purpose of the system is to digest food, extract nutrients from it, and also eliminate waste, just like I said. And other body structure includes the reproductive, respiratory, the urinary, and the cardiovascular system. Now, the last one we are going to learn about of the organization of the body is the organism. And we know the organism is the most complex one. The simplest one was the cell, while the organism is the most complex. And this is the highest level of an organization is the organism. An organism is a complete living entity capable of independent existence. All complex organisms, including humans, are composed of several body systems that work together to sustain life. As I am an organism. You are an organism. Every one of us, we are an organism. As we have, the physical human itself is referred to as an organism. But all these other organs, all these other several systems now have to work together in order to sustain the organism. Without all these organs, there is no way we can function. We need all these organs and other cells, tissue, in order for us to survive, to sustain ourselves. So we are going to take the anatomical position and discuss that, and that's where we will be ending today's class before we take other things next. So anatomical position. Now, in medical terms, you have to be able to identify anatomical positions of how things are, because when writing down maybe like a report or referring to a position of the human body, we are not going to say the front of the head or the top of the head. No, you are not going to make use of such, you are not going to make reference to certain body type using such words are referred to as layman terms, but we have anatomical terms. I think you've done anatomy and physiology, right? Most especially anatomy. So you should be able to relate to some of these terms that we are going to learn now. Now, the anatomical position is a body posture, and it is used as a reference when describing anatomic parts in relation to each other. Now, in this position, the body is, now let's take this image for example. This body is erect. This is a standing erect body. I hope you can see the image I'm showing you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So now, when you are referring to the top of the head, we are talking about the superior part. So the top, this is the superior part. I hope you can see the image and see me as well. This is the superior part. The anterior, the front, is the anterior plane, while the back is the posterior plane. The top is the superior, the front is the anterior, while the back is the posterior. Now, if you are talking about the medial is in between. So, in between, let's say this is the human body, as you can see. So, going through in between is referred to as the mid-sagittal or the median plane. When you take it transversely, cut it into two, that is the median or the mid-sagittal plane. When you divide it by the side, it goes like this. By the side, goes through, that is referred to as the frontal or the coronal plane. While dividing it into like this, when it goes transversely, that is referred to as the transverse and the horizontal plane, as you can see in this diagram. Then we also have the medial. The medial is in between, the space in between two, such as this. This is the medial, while the lateral is by the side out. Side outside, going outside is called the lateral, and the inferior is underneath or going downwards, as you can see. I would leave this image for you to study very well, because if you can take pictures or screenshots of it, even though we are still going to send you recordings of this class for you to be able to study well, but you can go through this image very well to understand the anatomical positions. We have the superior, we have the posterior, we have the anterior, we have the median, that is cutting mid-sagittal, we have the coronal to this side. When it is divided, goes through this side, that is the coronal or the frontal plane, while horizontal is in the middle, that goes through transversely, that is the horizontal. The medial is in between two spaces, while the lateral is outside, and the inferior goes downward. That is the anatomical plane of the body, the anatomical position. So, the planes of the body, we have been able to discuss the planes of the body, just as we can see in the image. To identify various sections of the body, anatomists use imaginary surface plane called flat surface called a plane. Prior to the development of modern imaging techniques, conventional X-ray images were taken only on a single plane, and many body abnormalities were difficult, if not impossible, to visualize. You know, when we were talking in last class, I said the way medicine is being practiced now keeps advancing with the advancement of science and technology. The advancement of science and technology has made disease diagnosis to be very, very, let me say, very easy than it was back then. Because back then, they don't have X-rays, they don't have MRIs, they don't have CT scans, they don't have all the equipment that we use today. So it was difficult for them to be able to diagnose diseases, certain diseases. But now, with the advancement of technology and science, it has made it easy to be able to diagnose certain disease, because now we have the use of MRIs, we have the use of X-rays, we have the use of CT scan, we have ultrasound machines that we use now to be able to identify structural abnormalities in the body and making it easier to diagnose the diseases. So now the most commonly used plane that is being used right now is the mid-sagittal, coronal, and transverse plane. Let me go back to it. The mid-sagittal, coronal, and transverse plane is now being used in disease diagnosis right now. It's commonly used. That's the commonly used plane. So the planes of the body, let us talk about them. The planes of the body, we have the mid-sagittal, that is the median, and the anatomical division is from right to left halves. Right to left halves. Let us go back to it. The mid-sagittal, this is right to left halves, cutting it through. While the coronal is the anterior, ventral, and posterior dorsal aspects, while the transverse are the horizontal. The anatomical division is the superior, and if that is the upper and lower, inferior, lower aspects. So from next class, we are going to start from body cavities. We are going to learn about different body cavities. We'll be able to identify different body cavities from next class. So do we have any question for today's class? Any question? Anybody with any question? Anyone?